Good evening. So I got a message from one of my viewers who is not a pagan, but he's really interested, and I wanted to do a basic beginner summary video about the different paths and what some of the beliefs are, how they're different. Very basic beginner video that might sum up all four of the Old Ways Are Alive videos. So he wanted to know about the pagan doctrine. Now, first off, if you're a beginner and you're just learning this for the first time, paganism is an umbrella term. And you'll hear this a lot from other videos, other people, books, whatever. Paganism, or pagan, is a general umbrella term. Now, there are many paths and religions under the paganism umbrella, and they all fit together. They're all related by various and sundry things. Now, paganism is mostly polytheistic, which means multiple gods, at least more than one god. Monotheism, as we all know, is Christianity, Judaism, Sikhism, Islam, so that's only one god, and mostly it's, with at least those four religions, it's a father god. Now, there are pagans who probably are monotheistic in the sense of there's one overarching deity, but the difference between pagan monotheists who believe in the one spirit, the one great spirit, the one God, versus Abrahamic or other monotheists in that realm, is that pagan monotheists mostly see the great spirit, the one overarching deity, as female. Not unlike the movie Avatar. Their goddess Ewa, who was the god of their entire world, she was spirit and everything. That's kind of along the lines of what pagan monotheism would be, and it's very close to what pagan polytheism is. Now, a lot of pagans that believe in multiple gods somehow still see that there is one great overarching spirit with these other gods in the mix. I kind of subscribe to that myself. That there is the planet, which is one great giant spirit, Gaia, or just spirit. And I see it as a female presence. But the gods within, like for instance for me it's the Celtic, and now I'm getting very in touch with the Norse gods as well. Those gods exist within that spirit. So it's almost like they're part of it. And then, so that's polytheism, multiple gods. Most pagans are polytheistic. Now, they can either have two gods. In Wicca, it's mostly just the god and the goddess, or the lord and the lady. That's still polytheism. It's the belief in more than one god. In this case, a female presence and a male presence who are like parent gods, the lord and the lady. They're like divine parents. And this is how most Wiccan people see it. However, if you're Celtic or Osseter or some form of Celtic or Norse or Germanic, you'll see the gods as the particular pantheon of the religion of the culture that your religion would belong to. So on my wall in our bedroom, we've got pictures, like I printed off Google Images. There's various, if you just Google image any gods, they'll come up. I've got Arianrod, who's a Welsh goddess. I've got Brigid, who's a Celtic goddess. I've got Lu, and I've got Cernunnos, and I've got some tree spirits. I don't have Thor or Freyr or Odin yet, but they'll probably be on our wall in our new place. So I'm basically telling all the guys, because even people who, like me, who are Celtic pagan, we still, most of us, I can't speak for everybody, will still acknowledge and maybe even worship or talk to gods and goddesses of other pantheons. And this is what I mean, where a lot of pagan paths can be interconnected. If you've all seen the Triskele. Now, even though the Triskele has other spiritual meanings, if you wanted to look at the pagan religions as the arms of the Triskele, they're all connected in a way, and they all come from our ancestors, primitive Iron Age or even earlier cultures. So that's how you can look at it. So my personal triskele would be like traditional witchcraft, Asatru or heathenism, and then for me the big one is Celtic practices. So that's all part of my path, and they're all interconnected. I know people who are Wiccan and shaman. I know people who are Celtic and witch, so they can be used eclectically. So what I'm going to do is I actually have a bunch of windows pulled up, and I'm going to go through the big few pagan religions. I've got Druidism, which is part of the Celtic path, and I've got Asatru, Wicca, and witchcraft as well, and then shamanism. So those are in my opinion, the biggest pagan paths, at least in my country, in my area. Those are the ones you hear most about. And so to note that Druidism is part of the Celtic path, but when you say you're a Celt or a Celtic pagan, it doesn't necessarily mean you're a Druid, okay? And then Asatru is just one part of different Norse or Germanic reconstruction paths. Just like some people are Celtic witches, some people, they take various aspects of the Celtic path. So when you say you're Celtic pagan, it's kind of basic. You can be Druid and Celtic pagan. You could just be Celtic pagan. It's actually the Germanic and Norse religions that actually have a couple of different branches. I'd like to see the Celtic path branch off a little bit and maybe have a substantial following. We actually don't as of right now. We're getting there, I would say. And then Wicca and witchcraft are actually two different things. You can be Wiccan, or you can belong to what I call old world or traditional witchcraft. Now, if you're an old world or traditional witch, you're not a Wiccan. But if you're a Wiccan, you call yourself a witch. It's actually not that difficult. It can be tricky at first, but you'll see what I mean. They are different. So let's start off with Druidism. Now, the Druids were the priest class of the Celts, and they kind of seem to be like the heartbeat of Celtic culture. Now, there are three branches of the Druid way. So you've got the Druids, and they were the priests. They were kind of like the sages and the teachers, and they were kind of like at the top. And then you've got the Ovates, who were the healers. They were herbalists. Maybe they were kind of doctors, I suppose, wise men, in the healing arts anyway. And they were prophets and seers and the diviners. And then bards, everybody has probably heard the word bard. Bards were the poets and the storytellers. And they used it spiritual storytelling. So, and I study Druidism. I'd like to eventually refer to myself as a Druid. I'm getting there. So, if you go to druidry.org, that is druidry.org, that is the go-to official website for the Order of Bards, Ovates, and Druids. It's a huge, huge organization. And the Druid's Prayer, there's a few different versions of it, but it's all highlighting the same points. Now, the Druid's Prayer is, grant, O God, thy protection, and in protection strength, and in strength understanding, and in understanding knowledge, and in knowledge the knowledge of justice, and in the knowledge of justice the love of it, and in that love the love of all existences, and in the love of all existences the love of God, God and all goodness. So right off the bat, we're looking at the Druid's Prayer, and it seems like a pretty epic prayer. There's nothing negative about it. It's all very positive. It's basically, it goes in a huge circle. The love of this begets the love of that, begets the love of that. So I would say, contrary to certain Christian ideas about what we do and believe, right off the bat, we're refuting that hardcore. So if you have any apprehensions about becoming pagan or practicing a pagan path because of a Christian or more closeted upbringing, I would say, I would not be apprehensive at all, because I promise you from experience and even reading these prayers to you, They're very positive. They're very, very enlightening. And there's a lot to them. As we move on to Asatru. Now, like I said, Asatru is just one of the few branches of the Germanic Norse Reconstruction chapter. Now, Asatruers, mainly, they will worship the Aesir. Now, when you look at the pantheon of gods, there's the Aesir and then the Vanir. Freya, who was a very, very popular deity, Freya belongs to the Vanir group, whereas the beloved Thor and Odin and Frigga, his wife, belong to Aesir. Now, I know Asatruers who do worship Freya, don't get me wrong, but they mostly focus on the Aesir. That is my understanding. Yours may differ. That's Asatru. Now, Asatru, the Asatruers that I know are very in touch with their Scandinavian ancestry, and they're very in touch with the warrior culture that they came from. You know, the whole aspect of Valhalla. You know, if you die in battle, you go to Valhalla. So the 9 noble virtues of Asatru are courage, truth, honor, fidelity, discipline, hospitality, industriousness, self-reliance, and perseverance. All things that everybody should try to maintain or aspire to, but those are the 9 noble virtues of Asatru. And if you visit the website Odinsvolk, which is ODINSVOLK.ca, that's the website I'm getting this, and I'm not going to read the entire thing to you because for each of the noble virtues there's a huge paragraph talking about what it means. So that's Asatru in a nutshell. A very, very small nutshell. And what is this? That is my YouTube page. Let's move on to the Wiccan Rede. Now, there's one part of the Wiccan Rede that is very popular. Many people have heard it, at least if they're familiar with pagan paths. So the Wiccan Rede is, of course, very long, and you can find that anywhere. I got this one on Wicca.com. So I'm just going to briefly go through the Wiccan Rede. Now, it starts off with, "Bide within the law you must, in perfect love and perfect trust. Live you must, and let to live, fairly take and fairly give." Boom! Right away we see that Wicca is very peaceful. And the big thing in Wicca is in perfect love and perfect trust. Everything must be done. If you're doing a ritual, if you're holding a circle, nobody comes in the circle without promising to do so in perfect love and perfect trust. That's huge. For tread the circle thrice about to keep unwelcome spirits out. Now, the number 3 is kind of a big deal in Wicca. There's the Maiden Mother Crone. There's 3 aspects of the Divine Feminine, and there's also the Divine Masculine. I've heard it as the Youth, the Father, and the Sage. There's the Rule of 3, which is whatever you put out into the universe comes back to you times 3. So if you do something good, good will be rewarded to you threefold. If you do bad, you will get punished threefold. So 3 is a very, very sacred number. So honor the old ones indeed in name. The old ones are the ancestors of the gods. Okay, and going through, there's lots here. It's something that everybody should read if they're interested. Okay. Mind the threefold laws you should. 3 times bad and 3 times good. That's what I was just talking about. Be true in love. This you must do unless your love is false to you. So, of course, be good unless your love is false to you. And it ends in bold letters. These 8 words the Rede fulfill. And ye harm none, do what you will. Now, a lot of people only focus on the ending, the do what you will. But the first part is even more important, and it harm none. So to sum up the Wiccan Rede, if you read it, you'll see the Wiccan beliefs and practices in the Rede. But the big part is, and it harm none, do what you will. So what that means is, Wiccans will not harm you. They do not believe in harm. They don't want to hurt anybody. They want to be They don't want to harm you. They want to be kind of left alone. They don't want to interfere. They don't want to be interfered with. It's kind of how I view it. Now, they believe in doing whatever you want. Live how you want. Practice how you want. In religious life and in mundane, secular, everyday life. Do what you want. Live how you want to live in every way possible, as long as it doesn't harm anybody. No lying, no cheating, no upsetting anybody, no fighting. That's the Wiccan Read. Moving on to The Charge of the Goddess, which was written by Doreen Valiente, who was she passed away some years ago. She was a prominent pagan writer. Now, she wrote The Charge of the Goddess, which, as I understand it, is mostly used by Wiccans, but I love it, and I'm not a Wiccan. So, now, The Charge of the Goddess was written by her, but it's supposed to be spoken by the goddess. And now, it opens up with, and this is another long one that I can't read in full, but you can find it anywhere on Google. It is, "Now listen to the words of the Great Mother, who was of old also called among men Artemis, Astarte, Athene, Diana, wow, well, I can't read, Aphrodite, Caridwen, Dana, Arianrod, Isis, Bride or Brigid, and many other names. At her altars, the youth of Lacedaemon and Sparta made due sacrifice." Now that's just summarizing up the different names that the goddess has been called. And why is my screen so dark? Just summarizing the names that the goddess has been called throughout different cultures. Now, it starts off, "Whenever ye have need of anything, once in a month, and better it be when the moon is full, then shall ye assemble in some secret place and adore the spirit of me, I who am queen of all witches." So it's basically calling people to practice in a circle, to worship in a circle. "There shall ye assemble, ye who are fain to learn all sorcery, yet have not won its deepest secrets. To these I will teach all things that are as yet unknown." So the goddess is going to teach us all her secrets and all her wisdom if we gather together to worship her. "Ye shall be free from slavery, and as a sign that ye are truly free, you shall be naked in your rights." Big point to call attention to. The whole thing about we dance naked under the full moon. Okay, yes, sometimes we do. However, nudity and being naked is called sky-clad in Wiccan witchcraft, and being nude is not a bad thing. There's nothing immoral or dirty about it. It is sacred nudity, totally consensual. And it's not like people are letting their kids run around naked. It's totally consensual adults. Now, it goes on and on. She says, "I do not demand sacrifice," and etc., etc. So, that's another thing that everybody should read if they're interested in witchcraft. Now, the last point, oh yes, the whole Wicca versus traditional witchcraft. Wicca is a great starting point. However, Wicca and Old World witchcraft are two totally different things. I am a traditional Old World witch. I don't do the whole god and goddess thing, like one god, one goddess. I don't cast a circle 3 times, especially. I don't cast a circle when I do ritual. 3 is an important number, but like for me, 3 is an important number for other things. 3. So, I know I'm wearing a pentacle. I still use the pentacle, which is just the 5 elements: earth, air, fire, water, spirit. Now there are some differences between Wicca and witchcraft, and the biggest one that comes to my mind always is the harm none thing. Now, it's not like I'm going to go hurt people or curse people. However, the whole threefold law, that doesn't work for me. I still believe in not harming anybody, but I don't believe in the whole threefold part. Now, my only exception to the harm none thing, and this can be a whole video in and of itself. If you're being harmed, I believe that the person who is harming you has stepped out of their innocent bubble and is therefore open to offensive maneuvering. So and it's happened before, trust me, with me. I'm minding my own business, I'm a good person, I'm not hurting anybody, but somebody is hurting me, whether through magic or without magic, just like bullying me or working, like being terrible behind my back. I feel like once there's been a breach of trust and there is harm happening against me, I can use magic offensively. Not just defensively, but offensively. Wiccans will probably be like, no, you can't do that. Okay, calm down. Yes, I can. I feel like if somebody's breaking into my home, I can defend myself, but then hurt them. Do you know what I mean? Instead of just disabling them and waiting for the cops to show up, I'll break their arm so that they can never hurt anybody again. Now, I wouldn't suggest doing this on somebody that just pissed you off one day. This is serious. Magic is serious. If somebody really hurts you, and it's a huge catastrophe of epic proportions, like in my situation, the epic proportions lasted about a year, feel free to do some offensive magic to protect yourself and to protect other people, and maybe to even stop that person from harming anybody further. Please see me about that if you're concerned. I know it's really, really sketchy sometimes. So that, for me, is the big difference between Wicca and traditional witchcraft. There are more, however. And shamanism, lastly, shamanism was practiced and is practiced in many different cultures. It is pagan, however, it isn't pagan. There are shamans who are not pagan. Shaman is a Siberian word, and it means a wounded healer. And there are shamans all over the world. South America, Africa, all over the world. Now, what shamanism nowadays, what shamans practice is a form of healing. However, it's heavy on meditation. Heavy on meditation. They usually go into a trance or go into the spirit world to access, to get help from spirit guides to access information, and that's how they work. Heavy on meditation, lots of really intense magic, and lots of spirit guides. So, I love shamanism, but I am not ready for it. I am reading on it. You've got to be prepared for that. So I hope this helps kind of break it down a little bit. Now, pagan paths, there are hundreds and hundreds, I swear, but they can all be related. There's no sacred text. However, there are things like the Charge of the Goddess, the 9 Noble Virtues of Asatru, all written by humans, all written by people. It's not like they're Bible and we're arguing amongst ourselves if it was written by man or God. These are all texts and poems and stories written by people, our elders, people who gave us our traditions in the modern sense. But they're still important and they're still sacred, and it's how we live our religious lives. So I hope this helps the person who sent me that message. I hope this kind of helps everybody else out too. So have fun, ask me questions, get this book, check out those websites. I'll post them for you.